What's up, everybody? It's your boy Tru Element 78 in the building with
your reigning and defending Mondo Lucha Hall of Famer, the X-Man, Xavier Mustafa.
And I am the natural Chris Black.
Yeah, there was no energy behind Xavier Mustafa's introduction. You feeling all right over there? You should be happy. You got some church announcements to make today, baby.
The world is burning down. So that's how I feel right now. I feel like the world.
But the House of Mustafa is back. So we're going to kick things off with church announcements. But first, you're tuned into a very special edition of Saturday Night Slamcasters. This episode is going to be providing you with your NXT in your house, or is it NXT Takeover in your house? I think that's what the tagline is in your house, the tagline. So NXT Takeover in your house for Sunday, June 7th. So we'll be providing you guys with those predictions, as well as touching on a little bit of news since our next podcast is still a week away. But as Xavier Mustafa already stated, the world is kind of on fire around us. And it would kind of be, not necessarily in poor taste, but it would be, I guess, a missed opportunity if we didn't take this time to provide you guys with some of our thoughts, especially being a minority podcast out here of three black men with a lot of opinions to probably say about the issues that are going on in the world right now. And before we even get into church announcements off top, I want to say fuck Jackson Ryder, and we will get right into those church announcements. Go ahead.
So depending on when you hear this, Legacy Pro Wrestling will be having the show this Saturday, as long as there's no curfews being enforced. So kind of on edge about that. But
you're in Franklin.
Yes, but there's still a curfew. We have to cancel the show because people have to drive back to the city. So, but yeah, so that's what's going on. Legacy Pro Wrestling returning to. Where are we? The Root River Center. I was going to say the wrong building. This Saturday, tickets are available at legacyprowi.com. You have to purchase your ticket online. Thank you, COVID, for making things extra. Have to go through extra hoops, but because of COVID, you must buy your ticket online. So yeah, thanks. Thanks, COVID.
So Legacy Pro being back. The natural Chris Black. Do you have any church announcements? Is Devin August going to finally get it?
Okay, so I figured you might as well hear it from the horse's mouth rather than from somebody else. Unfortunately, well, for me, fortunate for Devin August, due to some unforeseen circumstances, I kind of prevents me from competing this weekend. So I will have to do what Seth Rollins didn't do, and that's pull out of this show. I'm sorry. I apologize. Devin August, you've been spared.
So since he won't tell you guys what's going on, the way that they rerouted his urethra for his new vagina, it is malfunctioning. So he is unable to pee normally, and he has to pee into a bag. And so we don't want any messes made in the ring. We don't want to have to clean it up. So he's going to have to catch Devin August around the bend. I'm actually thinking we got to knock Chris Black down to the bottom of the listing now. I think he's going to have to fight some other people before he gets to Devin August now. What do you think, Xavier Mustafa?
That's fine with me.
I think so. Devin August has been waiting to put them hands on Chris Black. Chris Black's been coming up with every excuse, snow, rain, COVID, now the BLM movement. Is this wow, Chris Black. I mean, I wish I can be as all-powerful as you.
More excuses.
Sucks.
But like I said, we're here to cover the NXT In Your House pay-per-view that's happening on Sunday the 7th. So that's what we're going to do. We'll touch a little bit on what happened on NXT, or at least what led into the show. So I'll pass it over to Xavier Mustafa to give you guys the lead-in for NXT leading into the pay-per-view this Sunday.
Oh, well, you get some I won't say back and forth, but you get a little promo with William Regal and Adam Cole. That's going to be leading into that match for the NXT Championship. You have some chicanery going on with the Women's Championship, with all of those women battling. You got Keith Lee and his, I was going to say wife, and his girlfriend, Mia Yim. They're currently beefing with Johnny Gargano and his wife. Then you got apparently Tegan Knox and what's her name? Dakota Kai. Apparently, they're still feuding. They've had the longest feud, I think, in NXT and wrestling history, I guess, going on right now. Let's see. Even though he's not on this card, I do want to take a second to talk about that amazing. I don't want to call it a cage match, but it kind of was a cage match. Cage slash platform slash scaffold slash whatever you want to call it match, which I think was probably one of the coolest inventions that WWE has come up with to date. So without going into what the actual card is, I will leave it at that.
All right. Well, I know on this week's NXT they did a great little promo package for the women in the championship match: Io Shirai, Charlotte Flair, and my baby mama Rhea Ripley. It's funny when they do a promo package like this, though. Io Shirai kind of came off as like the heel in the match, and Charlotte and Rhea both kind of came off as the baby face. At least that's the feeling that I got off of. What you guys think of the promo? And before I let you guys respond to that, it was kind of weird after the Stadium Stampede match, and they said it was in poor taste for the Matt Hardy drowning thing underwater in respects to Shad Gaspard. And then on NXT you had Io Shirai cutting her promo like underwater, and now that was all that I could kind of think about was that while watching that promo. But go ahead, what you guys think of the promo cut by the ladies tonight and how they edited that together?
I think I disagree with them putting Io Shirai as the heel. They kind of made her look like more of a baby face because they talked about her journey, how she started when she was 16, how she's traveled the world. More or less, that's not something that you really do to a heel unless you do it in an arrogant way. So if anything, they kind of made Io Shirai more of a baby face, and they kind of put a spotlight on her. It's like we know Charlotte's story, we know Rhea Ripley's, but this is the first time they're really focusing on Io Shirai. And I'll get to my predictions, but that definitely has influenced my decision with that match.
I thought the promos are okay overall. My biggest issue with the three of these ladies is that I feel that one of these ladies probably shouldn't be in it because I think there's somebody who should be in it. However, she's on the main roster right now. But I really think that Bianca Belair should have been in this, and she should be winning the NXT Women's Championship. But, you know, she gets robbed from that because they bring her to the main roster, but I digress.
Yeah, as far as everything that happened on the show this week on NXT, that was pretty much the highlight as far as leading into the pay-per-view. You had a couple of shenanigans with the Undisputed Era and Adam Cole and them limousine riding, I guess you could say. They weren't jet flying, but just talking about how they need to get their head in the game and get serious. And then you had Karrion Kross cut his promo after what's that guy's name? He got destroyed by the guy with the hat. Not a big NXT watcher.
The guy with the oh god, somewhere to see Crimson. No,
Crimson.
This is gonna bother me. I'll figure it out.
Well, it was him versus
Grimes. There we go.
Yeah, Grimes.
Big Grimes, not Big Grimes.
Cameron Grimes, I think.
Cameron Grimes, but he beat that big guy who was making his return. I think Cameron Grimes is kind of the new. No, never mind. That it's not him who I was thinking. I was thinking like they're treating Damian Priest like the more extreme version of what they wanted King Corbin to be. I think he was given what Baron Corbin was supposed to be, but Damian Priest can actually pull it off. But we'll get, huh?
I was gonna say, here's one thing that I got my issues with Cameron Grimes is he should have still been Trevor Lee. I don't get why they changed him in NXT. I get it, WWE likes to do that, but I think he was way better in Ring of Honor as Trevor Lee. Just saying.
Chris Black shaking his head. You didn't like him as Trevor Lee?
I'm I'm not too familiar with his work in Ring of Honor. The name sounds familiar, but I'm not impressed by what I've seen in NXT so far.
That's what it's there for, though.
But I've been wrong before. I've changed my mind on a few people. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he needs to do something to get me interested.
All right. Well, we're gonna start with the card so we can get in. We can get in and out of here. Cover a little bit of that news, like I said, and yeah. So we only got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 matches on the card, and we're gonna start off with Finn Balor and Damian Priest kicking off the show. I'm assuming. So, who is your pick, and what have you thought leading into the show? We'll start with Xavier Mustafa.
So actually, there's 6 matches, and which one are you asking? I'm sorry.
I said Finn Balor and Damian Priest.
Oh, Damian Priest has to go over in this one, I think.
What's the 6th match that I'm missing? The tag team match? Yeah. All right.
6-woman tag.
6-woman tag.
Yep.
Oh, that got announced on tonight?
Apparently, somebody hasn't wasn't watching the show,
Hey, I got kids.
but they spoiled the end of it. But anyway.
Well, I saw the women out there like going at it, and I assumed that they were going to make a match, but they didn't bring it back up at the end of the like after that. So, which WWE is very bad for these days, where they don't call back to anything that happens on the show. But okay, so at a 6-woman tag. All right, well, Finn Balor and Damian Priest still curtain jerking, and I'm picking Damian Priest. He has to go over, but I don't know where that leaves Finn Balor. Like he came in with a roar and has been going out like a whimper. So I don't know what the plans are with Finn Balor being down at NXT.
I'm gonna go opposite of Mustafa. I think Finn Balor is gonna win this match.
Any reason why?
No, I'm not gonna. I'll tell you when we get to the next. Well, it coincides with another one of my picks, so I'll save.
I already know
why.
He's gonna say Karrion Kross and Finn Balor. But anyways, NXT North American Championship. You got Johnny Gargano taking on Keith Lee.
Well, Freudian slip there, huh?
Yeah.
Johnny Gargano goes over a squash match. New NXT North American champion.
BLM Keith Lee goes over.
Although I don't agree with the way Gargano wins, I have to agree with Mustafa. I think Gargano's going to win, mostly because Keith Lee needs to. And this is Mustafa might unfriend me after I say this, but Keith Lee needs to be in the main title picture, like the North American title. I don't want to say he seems too big for it, but he kind of is. He's like, who's his competition really? So I think they're going to put Keith Lee, they're going to elevate him, and Johnny Gargano is going to be a 2-time North American title winner.
All right. I'll let you announce the 6-woman tag match. Only person I can name out of that whole foray is Candice LeRae. So Candice LeRae and who?
All right, so we got your girl, Shotzi Blackheart. We got Tegan Knox. And we got Mia Yim versus Dakota Kai, Raquel Gonzalez, and Candice LeRae. So my pick, I'm going to go with the heels, of course. So Dakota Kai, Raquel Gonzalez, and Candice LeRae.
I'm also going to go with the heels, and I think Shotzi Blackheart eats the pin.
Honestly, this match can go either way. I mean, if they're going to put some type of, I don't know, psychology spin on it or whatever, if Johnny Gargano wins, the heels lose in this match. I don't think him and Candice LeRae are both going to win their matches, but I could be wrong. I think it doesn't matter who wins this match. There's nothing really on the line. Although I think Mia Yim's gonna get the pin. So,
Well,
and I'll probably fall asleep, man.
even though I picked Keith Lee, if Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae both win their matches, then we get to have a live sex party on NXT the following week. Live sex celebration.
Just like the Rated R Superstar and what's her name?
Lita.
Lita.
Next up, we got the NXT Women's Championship. You got Charlotte Flair taking on Rhea Ripley, taking on Io Shirai. We'll start with Chris Black on this one.
So the way they built Io Shirai, on that, the package, I want to say that she's going to win because it's her time. But if she does, it's going to be generic, and she's going to pin Rhea Ripley, and I don't think Charlotte's going to be involved in the decision. That's if Charlotte wins, but I also can't see them wanting to continue her being the NXT champ because she hasn't elevated anyone, but I guess she hasn't really had the opportunity. But now's not the time to give it to Rhea Ripley. So if the title does change hands, it's going to be Io Shirai, and Charlotte won't be pinned in that case. That way, when Rhea Ripley does go to the main roster, she got something to go up against. She can get her win back on Charlotte on the main roster.
I'll let you go, Tru Element. Go ahead.
Charlotte wins, pins Io Shirai.
Just fuck my whole theory, huh?
I'm going with Charlotte Flair wins. She pins Rhea Ripley. That continues that feud, and I think Charlotte loses it at a big pay-per-view to Rhea Ripley in the future. Because I don't see her going back to Raw or SmackDown because there's nothing for her to do there. So she might as well stay where she is.
Charlotte?
Is there nothing for Charlotte to do? Because she's been on Raw, SmackDown, and NXT. She has been everywhere.
She's done everything. She got to let those other girls breathe on their own shows.
I'm starting to feel like Charlotte Flair.
So she suffocates NXT?
No, you can still get a lot of interesting matchups in NXT with her. Where if she goes back to Raw or SmackDown, it's the same thing. It's going to be her and Bayley, her and Sasha. Maybe we get her and Bianca on Raw.
Well, I'm tired of watching white people suffocate people on my television. So Charlotte needs to take a seat. She's been on Raw. She's been on SmackDown. She's been on NXT. I need her to go away, but I think she's going to win and retain because I also don't think right now is the time to be hot potatoing these belts around during this pandemic. It's already going to be a lot of people who come back to wrestling when fans are allowed to return, I believe, and that are going to be completely lost on where the product is and who the champions are. So to keep hot potatoing the belts, I think is one of the worst things that they could do as well. So Charlotte retains, but I think when fans come back, Charlotte's in for a vacation.
Speaking of people suffocating people, is Io Shirai a person of color?
Yes.
I would think so. Mm-hmm. So yeah, maybe.
Do you want to tell him? Should I tell him?
But Rhea Ripley is a person of color too, technically. I guess, depending on how you look at it.
Mustafa, can I ask you what nationality you think Io Shirai is?
I don't know. I think she's.
Is that a shoot?
No, that is a shoot. I have no idea.
You can't tell she's Asian?
I know she is, but you can't really call Asian people Asian. They usually don't like that. So you usually have to say Japanese or Chinese but then you can't call them the wrong one because they get offended too.
That's why the all-encompassing Asian.
Yeah, I'm not.
I guess I could say Oriental. Like who said that?
Yeah, I wasn't gonna.
For some reason, that's worse.
I wasn't gonna jump in there. I wasn't gonna pull the Jerry the King Lawler. Hey, that was a. What do you say? That was a ramen noodle moonsault. Oh man, this world is crazy. So yeah, I think we all picked Charlotte except for Chris Black. So next up and finally, oh no, not finally. Next up we got Tommaso Ciampa taking on Karrion Kross. with Scarlett. They emphasizing the with Scarlett thing, which everything is better with Scarlett on my television. So Karrion Kross needs to win this match, but I also think it's gonna be a fuck finish. I don't think we're gonna get any actual result from this match.
I will have to agree. I think Karrion Kross wins, but it's going to be dirty, and this feud continues until they get some fans because this match could tear the house down.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Karrion Cross on this one as well. However, I don't know if it's gonna be a fuck finish or not. The reason why I say this is because I can totally see Karrion Cross feuding with a whole bunch of other people. So weighing them down with Tommaso Ciampa, but then at the same time, what do you do with Ciampa? That's the flip side of it. So I don't. I want him to move on for this quickly. So
See,
maybe that's why I'm saying this. But I'm gonna go with Karrion
See, the
Cross.
main reason I'm gonna just throw this out there. The main reason I see this being a fuck finish because it either needs to be a dominant squash by Karrion Kross, which I don't think they're gonna do. I think it's gonna be a very violent and brutal match between these two, which is what would tear the house down if they were in front of a live crowd. But they got they got the cards that they were dealt. But I also think that you know how WWE is when they bring in a new person that hasn't been in their system that much. They put them up against the standard bearer or the person they feel that they can trust to go out there in the ring, and you get your reps in with that person to learn the WWE speed of things, the WWE motions, the way things are done. So I see him and Karrion Kross having at least a 3 to 4 match series of matches before he's allowed to move on to anyone else. So
Yeah,
That's true.
I don't think because I think we can all agree that they kind of paired them up way too soon. Tommaso Ciampa and Karrion Kross is not a one and done. It's just not.
yeah, it's going to be similar to when AJ came in and they had him and Jericho had all those matches back and forth because they brought AJ right into the system, right to television, and they were like, all right, we're going to put him out there with Jericho because Jericho knows how things work around here, and he can teach him our
But
pacing and everything.
but you know, you always the WWE is always that unknown element. You know, they also like to humble people that just comes in as well. If they if Ciampa beats Karrion Kross, like that's gonna kill any type of momentum he's got going.
Yeah, but I don't think that they need to humble him because look at where he's coming from. That's not some place that WWE necessarily needs to humble people coming from, and the way that things ended over there for him as well. And it also helps when you come into the WWE with a hot wife or girlfriend. So Scarlett can do a lot of favors to help Karrion Kross's career go far, unless they decide to mark Merrill and let her powerbomb him. Then it's a wrap.
Now that I think about it, yeah, I can see them going into a program for a while. I mean, he just had that competitive match with Lionel Ruff. So
Yeah, that was that was funny to me when they did. I was like, all right, I see what y'all did there. So, and then
if they wanted to be accurate, they should have had Keith Lee beat up Lionel Ruff because marketing.
all right. All right, so then finally we got Adam Cole taking on the Velveteen Dream for the NXT Championship.
So I don't know if you guys know, but apparently what it's going to be is going to be a match where they are going to be outside of the performance center with cars circled around them with the lights shining in, and that's where they're going to fight.
They're having the blood sport / street fighting
Lionheart.
match. Yeah, Lionheart, not blood sport, Lionheart match.
So apparently these movie productions are officially a thing at every pay-per-view now because we know the WWE likes to beat the dead horse. But I don't see the Velveteen Dream getting a victory here. I think that comes later. So I'm going with Adam Cole.
You know,
Baby.
I was sure in my predictions until you just said the whole outside with the whole circle like Fight Club bullshit. Okay, so the reason I thought that Finn Balor, I picked Finn Balor to win is because Finn Balor wins. and he challenges the new champ, Velveteen Dream, because they have heat, don't they? But if you're saying that it's going to be that type of match, then Undisputed Era could get involved. Is it a no DQ?
It sounds like it. Yeah, I don't
Oh man,
see
fuck
why I
that.
wouldn't.
Velveteen. The only way Velveteen Dream wins is if somebody helps him, but I don't think he's got allies like that. So I don't know. You could probably throw my whole predictions away. So, but Adam Cole, they've been pushing the fact that he's been a champ for a whole year. Why not take it off of him?
Give it some
But it
years.
could be too soon. The whole no crowd thing really plays a role in that.
Yeah. Uh, this one is difficult. This is a very difficult match to make a prediction on because you think it's Velveteen Dream's time, but without a crowd, it doesn't feel like it's your time. But granted, they're doing a decent job on the main roster with Drew McIntyre in these empty arenas because he's coming off like a champion. But I want to see this with a crowd. But I also think Adam Cole, it's time for the title to come off of Adam Cole. I think they've gone as far as they can go with the Undisputed Era in general.
Let me ask our NXT expert a question. Mustafa, has Velveteen Dream had a title shot yet? I think he has.
Yes, I want to say
Against
maybe the
Ciampa?
second time with Adam Cole, but it's always been some shenanigans.
So, I mean, unless they're going to pull a Humberto, like you just can't have this guy keep going for the title and losing. I mean, where else is he going to go?
Well, I think because I believe the next big NXT show is going to be the one that's going to be SummerSlam weekend. So I think they may milk it to then.
So
But
why even
also
do
with
this fucking pay per view? Shit.
but also with SummerSlam kind of being in limbo right now because it is a rumor that it may get pushed back to September in another arena. But then again, apparently COVID isn't a thing no more, so maybe they'll probably do it in August.
Damn it, if I got to make a decision, I'm going with the Velveteen Dream going over. Fuck it. just go ahead and pull the trigger. It's
You know, I didn't even realize it, but all of my picks, it would be all new champs: Johnny Gargano, Velveteen Dream, Io Shirai, which I don't see that happening. Again, throw my whole predictions away.
But that's been your NXT in your house predictions. You guys want to get into some news? Should we start off with heavy news or light news?
What possibly is there to talk about? What kind of news do you have, sir?
It's nothing
Well,
like anything's been going on lately.
I started off with saying fuck Jackson Riker. Real name Lyle, whatever the fuck. I know his birthday is coming up on Saturday, so fuck you and your birthday too. But for those who don't know what's going on in the world, we've been having a whole bunch of protesting, whole bunch of rioting, whole bunch of looting. A lot of people out there don't seem like they can separate mentally the peaceful protesters from the looters and the rioters. They're likely not the same people. And mentally, more than likely, they're not the same people either. And yeah, we had a unarmed black man who was killed in front of people, in front of a crowd on the street, when an officer put his knee across his throat, and the guy kept yelling that he couldn't breathe, and he ended up passing away. The video was about like five minutes long of him with his knee on him, and even after the guy lost consciousness and was pretty much probably dead already, the
You know
officer
what?
stood
I'm
in
going
and
to
was
correct you on that because
actually it was
when
eight
you
minutes.
word
Eight
it
minutes. Yeah, go ahead.
when you word it as his knee across his neck, let's just paint this picture because it was his knee on his neck with his full body weight pressing down on him. So let's not lighten it up.
All right.
But you're on mute, Chris Black, FYI.
I said right on his spine.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's not make it.
And while we're getting specific, the man was handcuffed. It wasn't like he could necessarily resist arrest or anything like that. He's laying on his stomach with his arms handcuffed behind his back. So there's no reason for this treatment to be going on. But like I said, he died in police custody. It was recorded. The officers weren't reprimanded immediately for this or investigated for this, and it took several days for that to happen. Now all four officers who were present at that time have been arrested. The main one who had the knee on the man's neck and throat, he was facing third-degree murder charges. They've been bumped up to second-degree murder charges now. I don't think we can go any higher than that and be able to possibly win the case, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, like I said, the world is going pretty much crazy right now. The country is the most divided I've ever seen it in my lifetime, at least. And you're really finding out who in this country on your friends list supports racism, supports those who don't look like them, those who are only out for themselves, and those who are so dense that they can't understand the concepts of empathy and the concepts of grouping people all under one banner. Like, I don't know, we didn't really bring it up on here because it's not a political podcast, that when people were going out protesting against COVID and going to state capitals with their guns and everything like that, and some people were showing up with Nazi flags and everything like that, people wanted to separate the people that were there to fight for their rights from those who were just racist. But like I said before, people can't seem to do that same thing now when it comes to people who want to loot, set fires, and those who want to peacefully protest for criminal justice reform in this country. What do you guys think about what's going on in the world right now?
So it might be a bad idea letting me go first, but first I want to talk about our president. So our president, anytime he's made references to what's going on, it's always talking about, shooting the looters and sending in the military and all that other stuff. Nothing about these 4 officers, one that killed this man while the other 3 sat around and watched. Nothing about, him, I don't want to say necessarily supporting, but, actually acknowledging the BLM movement. Just pretty much being a fucking asshole. Because, he's a fucking asshole. So fuck you, Trump. And then as far as the protests and stuff go, I'm glad that people are protesting. I think the looting is unnecessary. But then again, in Minnesota, a lot of people that they arrested for the looting was actually linked to white supremacist groups, which means that these people are there just to wreck shit to make the people that are actually protesting look bad.
Oh, let's not even sugarcoat that. They're there to hijack the movement and make these people who are so dense that they can't separate the two separate issues from one another and paint everybody with a broad brush.
Exactly. And people just don't understand what this is about. Like, you got Sonny, talking about white lives matter, and calling people the N-word, stuff like that. And it's like, you don't even understand what this is about. This is about equality for everybody. You want to talk about all lives matters, but you have to realize that all lives matter is all lives, not everybody but black people, not everybody but Puerto Rican people, not everybody but Asian people. All is all inclusive. Unless you want to start, like, you can't just say all lives matter except this person, this person, this person, and this person. And that part pisses me off too, because it's like, okay, y'all want to say, okay, blue lives matter and all lives matter, but fuck everybody else. We're like, hey, we understand all lives matter, but right now the issue are with Black lives. So if you truly believe that all lives matter, you should be focused on making sure that African Americans have the same rights and get treated the same way as other races do. I mean, at least that's my opinion. I mean, let me know if I'm wrong or if I'm talking out of my ass, but I don't think I am. This shit has bothered me this entire week because I fear that people are going to be out there protesting. Everybody's getting angrier and angrier, it seems, every day, and it's going to be the point where, okay, the police are going to start knocking people in the heads.
Oh, that's
It's
already
going to be
happened.
like we're fighting for civil rights all over again. They're going to start turning the hoses on us again. We're going to start having colored water fountains and white water fountains. They're like, this is what I feel like. And I just don't understand why people just can't be genuinely nice to people. What's the point of racism? I think being racist, you really lose out on being able to learn about other cultures. There's so much stuff going on with other cultures that people don't even know about that they could possibly enjoy. But guess what? You're so much of a dickhead because you think that, your race is the best. We're all
Most
here to enjoy each other, especially America. America's supposed to be a melting pot of everybody.
most racists are full of bullshit because if they were really racist, what the fuck would they be eating for their goddamn diets? Most of them be eating fucking potatoes and shepherd pies and shit like that. And I'm gonna let Chris Black go, and I know me and Chris Black are gonna have a different opinion. I also know Chris Black's gonna have a different opinion just because tinfoil hat sometimes too. But me and him are gonna have a different perspective because me and him both have children, and our children are interracial or biracial, should I say? So,
Well, hold on, I'm gonna bring up one more thing before I get on that because I got another point of view to have. Because one thing about, and I'm talking about our side now, Black people and what's going on with the LGBTQ community right now. Like I just watched a video where these people, it was like 20 of them that beat up a trans girl.
oh, was that the one twerking in the store? I saw that video.
I didn't even know because I didn't see the part where I just saw the beat down part of it.
Okay,
or
it was like a
whatever.
20-minute long video.
So, so you have Black people protesting, but at the same time, you're hindering other Black people because of sexual preference. Like that's a fucked up situation too. But all right, I'll let y'all go ahead. I just want to bring that up.
All right. So I'm going to go ahead and set a timer for 5 minutes so I don't start ranting. All right. So, like Tru Element said, I'm a little bit more of a tinfoil hat guy. I look at the big picture because I know that the global elite, whatever you want to call them, the people pulling strings, they play the long game. Nothing they do is unplanned. They know exactly what they're fucking doing. And the thing is, what they can't depend on is people will be people. Okay, I say all that in saying, okay, so what have we been going through the last, there's been a huge emphasis by the media of all this police brutality and just straight up injustice towards Black people. You had the Ahmaud Arbery situation. You have Floyd's death. It's just been on and on and on. The guy who got shot in his own home in Texas. So this racial tension has been building and building for a while. The names go on and on. Anyway. So the elite have always gone by the whole divide and rule tactic. We know it as the divide and conquer. Basically, it's if you have the people fighting amongst themselves, they will never unite and fight against you, who is the greater evil. So that's what the media is doing. They're just stirring the shit. And believe it or not, people, I know you're upset. I know you want to show the world that you're angry. You want to be heard. But do you understand you're falling right into their plans? It's business as usual. They want civil unrest. Everyone who wants all these fucking conspiracy theorists is out here talking about, oh, the Illuminati, the New World Order. Motherfucker, what do you think you're going to bring about? if you're out tearing up the streets, you're going to make it come even quicker, and it'll be our fault. So I'm not saying that we should sit back and do nothing, but I think there's got to be a better strategic way to get the attention of those who we need to reach. I don't think tearing up shit is going to do anything. All they're going to do is bring down the military power, and everyone's fucked. So I don't know. And like Mustafa was saying, it's kind of funny that these pallets of bricks have been just neatly placed out for the rioters. All it takes is, that the mob mentality. All it takes is one person to do one thing, and the crowd's just going to follow because people are fucking sheep.
Oh yeah, the Boondocks
All
prove
I'm
that.
saying is that all empires must fall, and America is the next empire. I suggest you people start learning your history. Otherwise, you're going to become a victim when it starts to repeat itself.
It was kind of funny. I was telling Chris Black earlier, and Xavier Mustafa came in a little bit later about a year ago. I was telling them to start learning about stocks, getting into stocks, because I saw the way the market was moving. Even if COVID hadn't destroyed the markets were going to crash eventually. They had to. They needed a correction. Then about 3 months ago, even before COVID hit, I called these two gentlemen and told them, "Hey, you guys got guns? Yeah, you might want to get guns because things start to get crazy out here. Now look where we are." So I've just kind of been just having my pulse on the culture of where things are headed. It was so symbolic last night here in Wisconsin. We have the world's largest U.S. flag pole here, and the world's largest U.S. flag. And it actually got blown apart in a storm last night where it blew away pretty much all the stripes and only the stars remain. And I said, how symbolic that the country is divided right now and torn up, and now this flag is torn up and tattered, but the 50 stars remain. And I said, everybody should take that as a symbol that the states, we can remain as we are, but the foundation upon which this country is built needs to change. It is built upon oppression, and it is built upon the oppression of minorities specifically, who have been mistreated, misjudged, and misused for far too long.
The problem with that is, in order for a new system to arise, the old one must fall.
Yeah, but like I'm saying, that foundation has to be destroyed. It's what all these politicians have promised us forever about draining the swamp, and all they ever do is redirect more water into that swamp to make it larger. They don't ever bring a sump. They don't ever bring a sump pump with them or anything to actually get the water and find all the gems that have been laying at the bottom of the swamp. They want to just keep bringing in more shit. And
Look, look. Full disclosure here. I've said this to my parents, and they've been kind of pissed off at the fact that I've even uttered these words. But I lost my faith in humanity a long time ago, to the point where I don't expect anyone to do anything that's right anymore. It doesn't shock me that police go out there and kill people. It doesn't shock me that people go out there and because people. I'm gonna get on. I'm gonna say some shit that I'm gonna regret. Like, for real, humans are fucked up. The bottom line is humans are fucked up. When this whole COVID thing came about, when we discussing Jericho's, I'm just like, some nasty motherfuckers. Like, humans are terrible creatures. I'm sorry, they are. I've lost all faith in humanity.
yeah, but also just getting to, I'm gonna do a call to action for everybody out there. Like, you don't have to necessarily support Black Lives Matter or anything like that. You believe what you believe, but before you make that the foundation and the hill that you want to die upon, educate yourselves, speak to people who look different from you, and just try to learn. Be open and be honest with yourself. But for those of you out there who just want to do a little test, and I did this with my child's mother, like I mentioned before. My son is biracial. His mother was white. Of course, I'm black. I just had her post something. It didn't say Black Lives Matter or anything like that. It was just simply said, let me read it. It says, repost this on your timeline if you agree that racism is not right at all. And she posted it on Monday, and she got 3 likes and 1 share. And I asked her, I said, did that surprise you of how many people responded to that post? And she said, yeah, it really did. And I had been trying to tell her since we had our son, he's 3 years old, watch who you take our son around, watch how they treat him, watch how they treat you. Since you had a kid, I even told her, I was like, they don't contact you as much as they used to. You don't get invited to parties at their house with their children. Like all your friends have children, but why do you think that you don't get invited to any parties? And she's like, well, maybe they don't hit me up because I have a kid and I'm busy. Or I'm like, that post should tell you a lot about how you're viewed amongst the people that you grew up with now.
Look, people they hear my thoughts, my beliefs, and they look at me like I'm crazy. But so I dabble in something called astrotheology. I've done a lot of research in that area, and I said back in 2012 that we are going to leave the age of Pisces, which we are now, and we are going to enter the age of Aquarius, which is the age of enlightenment. And I was saying back in 2012, in the next upcoming years, all the things that we thought we used to know about each other, about government, all that shit's going to change because all of it's going to become the light. So, like your kid's mom, she's being enlightened. She's seeing people for who they really are. I mean, for the fact that we can go back to the 2016 election when everyone was so shocked that people were actually voting for Trump. And I'm sitting back like, of course, everything's coming to light. So believe what you want. The signs have been out there.
Yeah, I know. Xavier Mustafa had one of the best posts I've seen, and I don't know if he wrote it or if he stole it because he's a thieving asshole. But he said, how did it go? It was like, man, time zones are crazy.
Mm-hmm.
You know which time? You know which one I'm talking about? Because I'll let you say it if you do.
I saw it.
Yeah, it said that it's the 31st of May in one time zone, June 1st in one time zone, and 1920 in the U.S.
Look, the bottom line, okay, so there's one of my favorite quotes, and if I actually believed in humanity, I think that this would actually be possible. My favorite quote is, "When the power of love overrides the love of power, the world will know peace." And that pretty much speaks for itself.
All right. And then one more thing is, like I said, you don't have to ride for Black Lives Matter. You may disagree with a lot of things we said. We might lose some listeners because of what we stated on here. But like I said before, educate yourselves. There's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of misinformation out there. But like the truth is always somewhere in the middle. It's never black and white. And that's what I mean when I say some people are dense and they can't understand context. They can't understand subtlety or whatever, subtlety anymore. And being able to read between the lines. And you can't expect somebody else to do all the research for you. If you're really curious and you really want to know, Google and the internet does exist. And like I said, you got to dig through a lot of bullshit to sometimes get to the truth, but it always lies in the middle. It's not one side is right, one side is wrong, one solution is right for everything and everyone. But I will say this to you guys, because I know there's a lot of people out there that were cheering about everything being squashed with this Insurrection Act. And me as someone who is very well versed in World War II and what happened there, because it's one of my favorite time periods to study, and also looking at the Insurrection Act, and they're not reporting this in the media. It hasn't really even broken out in the even in the fake news stuff yet. Like I haven't really seen any posts. I've been the only post I've seen about it. Learn what the Insurrection Act really is. Learn how it has changed over the past 100 years that it's been in existence, and understand it. Because like I said, during COVID, there were a lot of people out there crying about their rights being taken away and the government infringing upon their rights and going against the Constitution and all this different type of stuff because they couldn't go get a haircut, or they couldn't open their business, or they couldn't do this, or they couldn't do that. And you have one, and then you have people who are always like, oh, the Democrats are doing this and the conservatives are doing that. Go look up the Insurrection Act, understand all the amendments that have been made to it, who was in power, who was in office when it was done, and where it stands at today, because that should be the thing that everyone in this country should be able to unite in opposition of. Because if the Insurrection Act does get enacted, there's no limits on how long it can be enacted. The president can name whoever he wants to as a political enemy and an enemy of the state and an enemy of the country. They can lock up whoever they want to lock up. So if you've ever spoken out or anything like that, it allows you to lock up your political enemies. It allows you to silence those who you don't agree with. It allows them to take over telecom companies, businesses, all this different type of stuff. So right now is one of the scariest times in U.S. history. As a former service member, I'd always told my friends, you don't got to worry about the military ever coming and taking over your homes or anything like that. But right now, where we are in this country is that you have, like Chris Black said, they've divided us. And there's one side that will do anything and everything that this government tells them. And it's funny because they are the people who before this president were always the most distrusting of the government, the ones who were building bunkers and stocking up on ammo and different things like that. So even if our military wants to disobey orders and not attack its own citizens, you have a lot of people out here willing to go to war with the citizens of this country for free, all because they are buying into a brand that is not really buying into them. So I'm going to leave that at that and just touch on some of the other things, or at least some of the commentary that's been going around the wrestling industry, since this is a wrestling podcast, on what people have been saying. I know you guys mentioned Sonny. I wanted to bring up what Linda Hogan, who has been banned. Linda Hogan and Hulk Hogan have both been banned from AEW. Hulk Hogan for obvious reasons, if you're a wrestling fan, on what his comments against black people that were recorded. And actually, it's crazy when you think about it. Hulk Hogan made those comments on video. They were recorded, they were released, and Hulk Hogan got paid. He made millions of dollars after that because he won the lawsuit against Gawker. But Linda Hogan wrote, she says, I'm watching the looting. It's all Afro-Americans. Not sure how robbing and stealing set the record straight, but if they want to be heard, they need to be civilized. And Tony Khan basically went out and said, you've now joined your husband in being banned from all AEW shows. Congratulations. You played yourself.
You know what?
I added that last part.
You know what? What the fuck do we have to do to be able to walk down the fucking street? To be able to chill in our living rooms, to be able to sleep in the bed with our significant other and not worried about getting shot by some racist ass police officer. Like, yeah, that's why shit is fucking burning down, because we're sick of it. We've tried to do the peaceful stuff. Like, that pisses me off so bad. Like, what do you want us to do?
Dude, the thing is, okay, and I don't throw this term around loosely, but you cannot have a country that was built on white supremacy and expect the shit to disappear.
Right. Which is, yeah.
I get it. I'm not, again, I think that term is thrown around loosely these days, but it is what it is.
It's funny. I was kind of where you were until now the things I've been posting, the arguments I've been having, and the things that my child's mother is realizing that I already knew. But I don't think that the word actually gets thrown around enough, because I'm finding out things like I didn't know that the KKK had like a LKA thing and all this different type of stuff, and people got there's applications to join the KKK. I thought it was just if you say nigga enough times in the day to keep your teeth white, you could join the KKK. I didn't know that you actually had to fill out applications like it was a job and shit.
Dude, look, I remember back in 2006, and I see this circulating now because, motherfuckers is just late, always a day late and a dollar short. Way back in 2006, the fucking FBI said that white supremacist organizations are infiltrating the police force, and no one fucking cared.
Yeah, and you know who actually wrote that article? My friend wrote that article.
See?
The lady who wrote that article was from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and I went to elementary school with her, and I've been in contact with her. She's worked for
Right.
a lot of different news organizations.
Remember, like I said, the global elite, they plan ahead. They play chess. I swear to God, if you motherfuckers don't know the difference between chess and checkers, you need to learn.
Yeah.
Because strategy is what runs the world.
Yeah, so go ahead and check out Kenya Evelyn is her name, and some of the articles that she wrote, because she's written several articles that have over the past 5 years have just been resurfacing because she was ahead on all of these different stories. Now I turn my attention to Jackson Riker, who put out a post after Trump had went on television demanding that all the governors use great amounts of force to basically squash the protesters and to stop the riots and looting or whatever. And so he sent the military out to clear a pathway for him to go do a photo op at a church that he doesn't attend, hold up a Bible that he doesn't own, and basically show him walking and inspecting the ranks of the officers and the soldiers. And so then Jackson Riker posted on his Twitter, he said, "Thankful for the president of the United States we have. God bless America, built of freedom, forgotten no more." And he got a lot of backlash for this post. Mustafa Ali, he responded, "I'm thankful you posted this because I'm now aware of what you stand for. When black brothers and sisters are crying, you praise someone that refuses to acknowledge their hurt." Kevin Owens wrote, The freedom you speak of entitles you to speak your mind all you want. I'm not here to argue that. I just really need to tell you that I think pushing your shitty wrestling catchphrase as all of this is happening is absolutely fucking pathetic. Good night." Dave Batista. Oh, go ahead.
I'll tell you, let's just hope that he goes the way of Lars Sullivan.
I usually don't like to talk politics. I mean, I know I said something earlier, but how can you be so fucking bad at your job as president of the United States and you actually have a majority of the U.S. citizens believe somehow, some way that you're actually doing a good job?
Well,
Do you see why I have lost faith in humanity, Mustafa?
Well, the thing was, and I'm gonna throw this out there. Like I said, we're probably gonna lose fans. We're probably gonna get downvoted and different things like that. But the thing that I've noticed about the majority of the people that support this president are, I already used the word dense. They're some of the least educated. They typically think that they're alpha when they're not really alpha at all. And they look at this president as being alpha when he has some of the most thin skin that there is. They think that because he will respond and snap back at people, that makes him alpha. What makes you alpha is not giving a fuck what they think. When you're the lion of the jungle, you don't have to respond to the sheep.
Yes. The
Like,
lion does not bother himself with the opinion of the sheeps.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, so they look at the way that this president acts as being alpha and so manly when it's completely opposite. And that's the thing that I've noticed about the majority of people that get behind this guy, that if you punch them, they got to punch you back. When, like I said, the lion doesn't like worry himself with any of that. It could be, and especially as the president, you shouldn't have enough time on your hands to worry about what somebody's saying about you on Twitter. Jackson Riker did get retweeted by Donald Trump Jr., and he praised him and thanked him for his service because Jackson Riker is a former Marine and a veteran. So, but my favorite response, hold up, I just want to read my favorite response to him, was from Joey Janela. He said, "Someone's going to take a nice shit in your gear bag." Because Randy Orton did come out and say Black Lives Matter. A lot of wrestlers came out in support of Black Lives Matter, which actually I said I was going to see if Alexa Bliss did, because there's been questions about Alexa Bliss and where she stands. And I haven't, and you know who's been quiet after talking a lot of shit before about stuff? Braun Strowman. But I guess he has to keep his mouth shut now because he's the champion.
You know, again, just the whole. You bring up the whole Trump taking a picture in front of the church, which I rolled my eyes at. But again, who do you think is pulling your strings? Everyone knows that people are so reactionary. What would be the purpose of taking such a controversial photograph that you know is going to set people off? Let's not forget about separation between church and state. Did we forget about that?
He's just a troll, man. That's all it is.
Exactly. And again, the media love putting shit out there that's going to incite the people.
And if you guys want to watch a great video,
pay no attention to that shit.
Check out Andrew Schultz. He did a comparison between Donald Trump and Tekashi 6ix9ine, and he breaks it down so great on how they are the same person.
He's an idiot.
One thing I want to add too is they want to talk about how bad Obama presidency was, right? But I don't recall ever in Obama's presidency did he inappropriately handle a pandemic. I don't think the stock market has ever went through the shit that it has in his presidency.
He brought it back.
I don't believe that we were this. What are we in debt now? Like, I think they've made up a new word now because we're so in debt. Like, he's probably, I don't even know how much money he's spent, but it's way too much. Got us more in debt. But, yeah, thank you, Obama. That's what they like to say. Thank you, Obama.
Here's the thing I brought up to
thank
somebody.
you, Trump.
Here's the thing that I brought up to somebody was about, like, We'll just even stick with the protests and the riots and the looting because that happened under Obama. Ferguson happened under Obama's watch. But what's the difference between what Obama did to squash it and what Trump is trying to do? Obama got the federal government involved. He sent people from the White House down to Ferguson and they said, we're going to take over this investigation. He didn't have, it didn't spread across the country with, for weeks on end and days on end. He didn't call in the military or anything like that to go and keep back protesters and stop the looting and rioting. I believe that all of that went on for maybe a week and a half, but it died down significantly. It seems like things are ramping up here right now at this time. Like, we didn't have all 50 states having a protest during Ferguson, even though that was bad. This is a totally different thing. We had all 50 states had protests today. The whole country had a protest. Every single state. Now, that's not the most united that we've seen the country in the past 4 years. I don't know what is. And it's funny that I posted that picture of this is literally, I don't know if we're in Infinity War or if we're in the end game right now. I guess the first shot hasn't been fired yet, so maybe we're in Infinity War. But yeah, I don't necessarily know where we go from here. But let's move on back to wrestling. We brought up some of the people who've spoken out and given our thoughts on everything that's going on in the world. Let's give our thoughts on someone in the WWE. And I told you guys I was going to ask you about this, so I hope you got to check out the clip or at least watch the show. Nia Jax. People are calling for Nia Jax to be sent back down to NXT due to her being an unsafe worker and hurting Kairi Sane again. What are your thoughts on Nia Jax and her injuring people? And do you think that what happened to Kairi Sane was her own fault on Monday? Because we had heard reports she had gotten injured, but that it wasn't Nia's fault because Kairi was in control of that bump that she took.
Okay, let me jump in first. I'm going to be the first person to say, and I'm not the first person to actually say this, but pro wrestling isn't for everybody. I'm sorry for all the Nia Jax fans, but she adds absolutely nothing to the product. Why is she even there? Could anyone please tell me their favorite Nia Jax match? Anyone? Feel free to tweet me if I'm wrong. The_natural_CB. Let me know. What's your favorite Nia Jax match? I'm willing to bet you have none. Again, she adds nothing to the product. So she can be gone for all I care. And it's not even because of the injury. She adds nothing. But if you want to say that she's unsafe, That's an even better reason to cut her. But whatever.
Uh, yeah, I think Nia Jax needs to go back and she needs to do some more in ring work. Not necessarily retraining, but I do think to a certain extent. I mean, if how do I word it? If it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, then it's a duck. Now, yeah, it was Kari Sane's own bump. However, all of these injuries that's been happening with Nia as of late puts up a red flag. And I've been there. I've had some times in my career where I wasn't necessarily injuring folks, but some mishaps were happening, and I'm like, whoa, I need to make sure that I slow it down a little bit, make sure that I take my time on things, not rush it, and things got better at that point. I don't know what's going on with her, but I do believe that she does need to go and do some retraining. That's just my opinion. She is, I guess, since Sasha Banks hasn't hurt anybody, I guess she's the new Sasha Banks.
Jesus.
We'll see.
At least Sasha Banks adds to the product.
Yeah, Nia came back and it was with a whimper, and I think those were the whimpers of Kyrie Sane when she made her return. I don't know what you do with somebody like that. I specifically want to ask you guys because you guys are the workers of the podcast. So it would be one thing if Nia Jax was athletic, but she hasn't. And I'm not gonna say she isn't athletic, but she hasn't ever shown that in any of her matches that she could be big and do something different from everybody else. She wrestles like Andre the Giant in the later years of his career.
Look, it'd be one thing if they treated her like an awesome Kong, or if she was even talented like an awesome Kong. That's where her, that's what role that she could fit. But she's not that. She doesn't have the talent. She doesn't have the ability.
Yeah, as much shit as we give Nyla Rose can move, and of course she's a little bit smaller than Nia Jax amongst some other differences, but still, like I think, and also if you look at the amount of time that Nia Jax has been in WWE versus the amount of time that Nyla Rose has been wrestling, it's like night and day, but it shouldn't be the way that it is. Nyla Rose only has like two or 3 years of experience, I believe. Whereas Nia Jax has been in WWE on television for 2 or 3 years, which means she was probably down in developmental for at least 2 to 3 years. So at least 6 years of experience. And
Look, all I'm saying,
you're still making these mistakes. And I don't know what the difference was. I wasn't watching NXT when Nia Jax was down there. So I really don't know what the difference is. The only thing I can say right now would be that, and from what I've heard from people, is that they were instructed because of the empty arenas that they need the later stuff in a little bit more because it wasn't as much distraction going on and people could notice them pulling more.
I just want to make sure that I got my stuff right. We're talking about when she put Kari Sane into the ring steps, right?
Yes.
So when I watched that clip, I think the issue was she actually, because, not trying to kill the business or anything, but generally, when you throw somebody into ring steps or a post or anything like that, you guide them, not force them, and they actually do the running into the deal, and that's how you protect yourself. It looked like Nia Jax threw her a little bit, a little too hard, to the point where Kari Sane probably wasn't able to stop herself in time to be able to protect herself.
And that's what the call out has been because they said that, oh, it's not Nia's fault. Kyrie's in control of that bump or whatever. And then
but she wasn't.
you had people texting Brian Alvarez like she needs to go. She's gonna kill somebody because she just literally threw her. Like you said, I don't think it's necessarily exposing the business. That makes sense. You guide somebody because their back is to the bump and they don't know where they're going. So you make sure that they get to the destination as safe as possible.
Right. I mean, anytime if you like, if I'm gonna get thrown by Mustafa and he throws me harder than I anticipate, and I can't, take my own bump, so to speak. Yeah, that's when an injury can happen. So it's one of those cases where she's just big for no reason and don't know her own strength.
I wouldn't say big for no reason. Maybe not know her own strength.
Well, I don't. Not to
Big for
disparage.
no
I'm not saying I'm
reason.
big for no reason. Like just
She
she just
is,
don't
she
know
is
her own strength.
she does stand out, and that's something that you can say that's something you can say about Nia Jax is that, and it's something that Jim Cornette has always preached, and this is how crazy the world is. I haven't listened to any wrestling podcasts all week. I haven't listened to any Jim Cornette. I haven't even really listened to the Wrestling Observer or anything, or Busted Open Radio or anything. But I digress on that. But one of the things that Jim Cornette always says is that when everybody does it or everybody looks the same, then you're not special anymore. Like if there's 15 big guys on the roster, you're not actually the big guy on the roster. With Nia Jax being as big as she is, as tall as she is, she stands out on that women's roster. But right now, I
But
don't
her
think.
talent doesn't stand out.
But that was what I was gonna say is that if you're gonna stand out, you have to be better. There's one thing to just look different and stand out, but there's got to still be something special about you. Otherwise, you're just taking
So
up space. Because what do they do with you if you can't do the basics?
maybe I shouldn't say big for no reason. More like they don't utilize her size properly.
But that's also what I'm saying is that everyone in there is less than half her size. So nothing could possibly look realistic. Like there's one thing when you got somebody tall like Charlotte, but she's not big in other directions, and they have a match, and you could kind of give the illusion or whatever suspension of belief with Nia Jax, but when she has to go in there against Sasha Banks, who's maybe 105 pounds, or she's in there with Alexa Bliss, who's like 92 pounds, or she's in there with Kairi Sane, who's probably 80 pounds.
But
How
you
do
know
you tell
what?
a story?
I said that no one can pick out their favorite Nia Jax match, which is I'm still gonna stand on that. But I will say that some of her best matches were against Bailey in NXT, and they utilized that. Maybe they did better storytelling, and they utilized the whole uh, David versus Goliath type thing, and they did it the right way.
And the way you tell that, and this is what they haven't done on the main roster that I haven't seen when it comes to Nia Jax, is the fact that everybody that they have Nia Jax face on the main roster, they have go at her directly. You don't see people tiring Nia out, using their speed or anything like that, which is how you tell that story. That's what Bailey was doing down at NXT. She was outmaneuvering Nia Jax, whereas you have Kairi Sane and all these other people. They charge directly at Nia, start punching her in the face. They get pushed back. Then they come and try and kick Nia. They might get her off her feet. Then she gets up, she power bombs them, she does whatever she's gonna do. But it's not a David and Goliath match. These people are trying to fight Nia like they're the same size as Nia, which makes it look awkward for Nia and exposes Nia. So
I don't understand what she adds to the show, and I don't know why they're holding on to her. To be totally honest, they've had how many years to utilize this woman properly, or for her to learn how to work? And
what's her pedigree?
yeah, I get that, but like I said, not everyone belongs in the business.
Any other
If
thoughts?
your only motivation is because my family did it, get the fuck out the business. There's a couple people that has. You don't see Ted DiBiase's son no more. He got out the business.
I think he's a teacher now.
I think he's in prison now.
Oh yeah, Ted DiBiase. Never mind, I was thinking about the other guy. So, yeah, Ted DiBiase's son definitely probably in prison. Actually, no, it's a white collar crime. He's probably not in prison. But any other thoughts? Like I said, we probably alienated at least half of our audience tonight since we saying the country is divided in half. But I feel like, hey, if you wanna get rid of us, I guess you were never really with us in the first place for sharing our thoughts and opinions. We can have healthy dialogue and a healthy exchange of thoughts. But like I said, educate yourself. I think that we kind of showed that we view both sides, but having had the actual experiences, that's one thing. If you discount people who've gone through the experiences, it definitely just makes you look like an asshole. If you just blow off the experiences, if somebody's trying to tell you what their experience has been, and you're like, nah, that shit ain't true.
Right.
At the
Yeah,
end of the
that's
day,
what.
you come off like an asshole.
Yeah, that's what I don't like, and that's why guys like Kevin Nash and CM Punk, they're just like, look, I can't tell you what it's like being a black person in America, so I'm not going to tell you how they should react or respond.
So, any other thoughts? Anything else? Or you guys ready to get up out of here? We went over. I said I didn't want to go over an hour. We're at an hour and 15. So let's get up out of here. Give out your social
Yeah,
medias.
let's take it home.
You can catch me at Xavier Mustafa on Facebook and Twitter. You can also catch my solo podcast at XM Cinema. Um, wherever you get your XM Cinema wherever you get your podcasts, and you can catch me on my social medias for that at XM Cinema on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
You can catch me at the Natural Chris Black on Instagram and on Facebook, and at the underscore natural underscore CV on Twitter.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna put Xavier Mustafa on the spot real quick. You have a new segment that you're gonna be starting. Me and you were discussing on your solo
Yes.
podcast.
Yes. So Mr. True Element is going to find some random movies that I've never seen and make me review them against my will.
With the cat,
Ooh, good luck with that.
is with the stipulation that he has to have integrity, which is a tall order for a wrestling promoter, and he's not allowed to look up any information about the movie before watching it. Like obviously, if he gets it digitally, maybe he'll get the little blurb about what the movie's about. But if he has integrity, he just clicks buy and he watches it. He doesn't even read that. So
I have no problem with that.
So he's just gonna go into these movies blind, and then after the movie's over, he can do as much research as he wants to give you guys the best information about the movie that he's viewing. But it's just a way for him to get a lot of good content. And I'm not gonna subject him to a bunch of crappy movies, but I have a plethora of movies that I've seen that not a lot of people have experienced. So check out that segment that's gonna be coming from him. I don't know when he's gonna be putting out the episodes, but it may expose you to some movies that have been maybe not mainstream and not on your radar, but maybe that you should check out, or some that maybe you should skip. So I already got 8 of them scheduled to be sent out to you. You got 2 coming on Well, you should have received 2 on Thursday. I'll put it like that.
Damn.
So, other than that, you can catch us wherever you get your podcast from. So be sure to just search for Saturday Night Slamcasters. Right now, you're here over on the YouTube. Be sure to give us a like and subscribe over here if you haven't already. Make sure you ring that notification bell. Leave us a comment. Give us your thoughts. I know, like I said, it's a wrestling podcast. We got a little bit political on this episode. I would like to see your thoughts, hear from you guys. Give us a thumbs up. Give us a thumbs down. It matters, but it doesn't really matter. But I would just like to know where you guys kind of stand and what your thoughts are as well. You can also check me out over on Twitter at SlamcasterTE78, and you can reach me over there. And you can also find us on your Facebook at Saturday Night Slamcasters, or you can search hashtag Come Get Slammed. You can do that also on Twitter to find any and all of us. Other than that, we will be back to you guys with our podcast, our first podcast of June, on next Saturday, June 13th. So be sure, like I said, to subscribe to the podcast. Check us out. Other than that, we up out of here. Holla at your boys. Come get slammed. Peace.